Nithyanandam, everyone.
Nithyanandam.
Welcome back to the Kundalini Yogini. Thank you for joining us today. I am here with my husband, Dritta, the Blissful Athlete. I'm just adjusting this. Sorry, guys.
Pull that up a bit.
We're experimenting a bit over here with the tech situation, and I accidentally messed it up. But okay, I think we're all right.
There you go.
Thanks for bearing with us. Good enough.
Let's start again.
Yes, welcome back to the channel. We haven't been live in quite a while, actually.
Yeah.
We were kind of on a roll for a minute, and then so many things happen in life. We moved, we got a dog, we are pretty much like new parents. So much happening, but basically I wanted to share with you guys today with Dritta as a guest because he is, like, in my eyes, like the king of meditation, and he really has an amazing space when it comes to meditation and a lot of experience. So I really wanted to share your perspective on this topic and the ultimate tips from your experience that you think will help new meditators, or even anybody that meditates and wants to go further into their practice, I think, right?
Yeah. And you asked me this morning, what are some tips that you could give some people? And so if you watch today's video, there's really 5 basic things that I think everybody should understand, whether you've been meditating for a long period of time or you've never even actually sat down to meditate. I would say there's 5 things that everybody should know and should be incorporating into their daily practice. And so the first for me was really just to set a time aside.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
when you learn about meditation, you might sit down, you practice it, and one of the most common things that people experience is they don't experience the results immediately.
Yeah.
Shocker. And so that's fine. That's a part of the practice. But to make sure that you set that time aside every day, be consistent with your practice, and then you'll see the results. It takes about 8 weeks to see some of the benefits of meditation. But if you carve out that time and you give yourself every day, you say, this is the time I'm going to be meditating. This is the time I'm going to sit down. And you stay integrated to that, that's really the first thing I would say to do.
I think it's like all about the commitment, right? Because otherwise, the biggest thing that comes up is that 1, you forget to do it, or 2, you always make some excuse that you don't have time, that you have more like other priorities that come up in life. And especially if you have a family, if you have kids, if you have pets, a career, multiple jobs, so much can be going on in the life, even school, like so many different things, right? That we a lot of times prioritize those first. We feel that pressure or responsibility to put those first, and we don't carve out that time for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great point. Like, we have to set the time. Be like, every morning at 8 a.m., I'm meditating for 20 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So pick a time that is best for you, that you know you can make it work, even if it means sleeping 30 minutes less every night. Wake up earlier, 30 minutes. You can always cut it into your sleeping time. If you feel like you have no time in the day, cut it out of your sleeping time.
And our guru says beautifully, if you don't have time to meditate for 10 minutes, that's fine. Meditate for 20. We all have time to meditate. You can set the time aside for yourself. And I know we're all very busy and we have difficult schedules and whatnot, but really the most important thing in life is your connection to yourself. And so that really kind of ties into that second tip, which is to have a space that is for you. And if you have a space that is designated for your meditation practice, it also helps give you that reminder and say, hey, like, this is where I'm going to be meditating first and foremost.
Yeah, creating that environment.
Yeah, you have that space that's for you. But the same thing at the same time, it also means like, you have this quiet area and it's needed for you to get into that meditative space. So choosing an area that's not your bed. A lot of people start off just sitting in bed. I really highly recommend against not meditating in your bed. Bed is made for sleeping. Find a space that's specifically for your connection to the divine. When you're sitting down and you're meditating, it's that sacred space. When I first started to meditate, I was a hockey player and I was really embarrassed about meditating. I didn't want to tell anybody, and I had roommates. And so what I did was I actually closed the door to my room and I made it my closet.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
I
Really?
would sit in my closet with my face facing outwards, but I liked having my back up against the wall.
And now you've come out of the closet.
I've literally come out of the closet with my meditation
That's
practice.
hilarious.
Yeah.
You're literally
And
making videos about it now from hiding in the closet.
but what that did was it gave me that space that was my sacred space. I didn't have a lot of space at that time in the apartment that I was in, but it was my area and I felt comfortable there. That's what matters most, being comfortable and having that space that's just for you.
Yeah, I think it really ties into the importance. Like, think about the other example, right? If you're trying to get work done, or if you're in school and you're trying to study or do homework, and you're sitting on your couch, the productivity level is just not comparable to if you take yourself to the library, right? You get so much done if you even just go to a coffee shop or a library. It's because spaces hold energy. It's an energy field that's created by a collective consciousness using that space, or even a singular consciousness repeatedly using the space for certain activities. So yeah, don't set yourself up for failure by doing it in a space that's not made for spiritual practice or meditation. Have a nice little setup for yourself that makes you feel good. Like, you can add some tapestry that you love, some deities around you, some incense, a candle. Make it nice so that you actually enjoy your time doing it, I think.
Yeah, and if you're enjoying this, actually let me know in the comments section if you've ever meditated before in a different space, such as a closet. Let us know. We'd love to hear some of your stories. If you have not yet started meditating as well, let us know, and I will be glad to help you out in the comments section moving forward.
Awesome. And then I wanted to ask you about the third thing of, like, you were kind of letting me know earlier why it's so important to experiment with different types of meditation. So maybe you can touch on that as our tip number 3. Why it's so important to put your feelers out there and do different types of meditation.
Yeah, well, we all know, like, meditation is basically good for us. The science is there. You didn't come to this channel because you wanted to know if it's good. It is good for you. But how to do it? What do I actually do once I sit down? That's like the most common question that I would say I receive. And really, there's a lot of different types of meditation, and they can be confusing. What I say is try as many as you like. There's so many different types. You might resonate with a specific type of meditation as opposed to somebody differently.
Yeah.
One thing I started to do when I first started out was I found that I was really attuned to listening.
Yeah.
So I would just sit and I would just focus on listening to a sacred sound. Or there would be multiple different instruments being played. I would try and just pick one. Maybe it was one little ting, and then it wouldn't come. Then there's some other sounds, and then there's another ting. And then if you ever kind of get lost in your head and all these different thoughts, when that ting comes, it brings yourself back to that space where, oh yes, I'm supposed to be listening to this sound.
Yes.
Now, that being said, the most common form of meditation, the most popularized one probably, is just focusing on your breath, because it's always there, it's always in the moment. And really that's what meditation is, bringing ourselves back to the moment. The breath is always there, right? And so focusing on the inhalation, noticing if it's cool, if it's hot, if it's soft, if you've got a clog in your nose, is it going in through the left nostril, the right nostril, all these details, just being aware of how the breathing is happening in and out. Yeah,
it's really popular, but honestly, it's still underrated because it works. It works really well. Pranayama is an essential component of yoga, which is where meditation comes from, and the yogic sciences. And focusing on the breath is the first unit of life, of consciousness, that is always with us, and it's the bridge between consciousness and the body. So that's why breath has such an impact. So I think that's a great example. Just another personal example for me. I know at this point in my journey, for whatever reason, my favorite type of meditation that keeps me really in a higher space and allows me to really unclutch and go into that depth is mantra meditation. I love doing meditation with sacred sounds, mantras in Sanskrit, whether it's just Om, literally just Om repeating is one of my favorites. It's so simple, but it's so peaceful, and it takes me really deep into that space. Or if it's the Mahavakya, or if it's an actual like shloka. I love mantra meditation personally. So there's so many things you can do. There's obviously tons of guided meditations out there, which don't be embarrassed to start with that. Like, I think sometimes people feel like, oh, I shouldn't do a guided meditation, it's lame, like I should be able to just sit there. Like, don't do that to yourself, because you're probably gonna hate it in the beginning and it's gonna be really hard. At least that's how it was for me. I loved guided meditations. You could literally search meditation for compassion, meditation for self-acceptance, meditation to help self-esteem, meditation for anxiety. I used to do that when I first started my spiritual journey and started meditating every day. And it helped me so much because if I was like that day actually feeling one particular emotion, I would look for it on YouTube, and then there would be tons of guided meditations for it, and I would just click one that wasn't too long. That was like 15-20 minutes, and I would do it, and it helps me a lot. So.
And you could always just type in meditation with Blissful Athlete.
Yeah,
I'll give myself a plug here.
Because this guy's doing it every day now, which is really awesome.
Yeah, we're doing a 30-day meditation challenge for beginners, and we're tapping into all these different types of meditation. So if you're not sure what type of meditation works best for you, maybe come over to my channel. You can check that out. And there's also one other thing that we're going to touch on at the end after our 5th tip. But with that, the 4th tip.
Yeah, unclutching.
Unclutching.
Tell us about unclutching, Drita.
Well, on a physical level, unclutching, and even on a mental level, unclutching from mind activity, what science is proving, is that when you just don't think, something called gyrification happens. It means the gray matter in your brain starts to fold back on grow and starts to fold back on itself. Wow. So literally, what happens is your brain grows, you become smarter, better information processing, higher IQ, memory. You don't stutter as much when you're live streaming on YouTube. So there's a lot of benefits from just stopping thinking, right? This is what is unclutching ultimately. My guru revealed this technique of just unclutching, and he said this might be one of the most prominent reasons why he becomes popular. It's just this technique of releasing, disengaging from creating a thought, holding on and cherishing thoughts, trying to destroy thoughts, just completely disengaging, unclutching. And the best way for me, how I like to do it, how I teach specifically for somebody that's a beginner, is starting with first unclutching your body. Because so many people, they just can't sit down.
Yeah.
And finding that stillness physically is a challenge. Maybe it's because of physical pains, your back might be sore. And so focusing first on unclutching and releasing any tension that you feel physically, and then taking that strategy and applying it to the mind when the mental activity is really there. And that's what meditation is about, is just unclutching, disengaging from the mental activity. And unclutching, that's something that you could really talk about, and my guru has spoken about, our guru has spoken about for hours on end. And so maybe we'll put a link in the description afterwards.
Yeah, we'll definitely do it, and also another video about just unclutching, because it's a huge topic in itself, but it is a very, very life-changing technique the more that you implement it. And I like to visualize it as like letting go of the brakes. And I think Swamiji once called it that. It's like you have your foot on the brakes a lot of times throughout your day, or in your mind when you're inside your inner space. You're resisting the thoughts that are coming. And that's actually where pain and suffering comes from. It's not the thought in itself, it's the resistance to it. So when we just take a step back and observe, literally like visualize releasing your foot off the brake, or sometimes I even think about it like a fist. When you're really tense or angry or stressed, sometimes you will actually clench your body in some way or another, either your shoulders, your tummy, or your like actual hands, right? Curl up. So think about it as like literally unclutching your hand, releasing that tension out. And that's such an amazing technique, no matter what type of meditation you're doing. When you start to get annoyed, or you feel off track, or you realize you've just been thinking about what you want to get at the ice cream store later, or what homework assignment that you need to work on next, just take a step back and watch that thought go away, but don't try to just force it out. Just step back from it.
So well said. So well said.
And I think it can be a really profound change to your meditations. And I saw one comment saying, like, how do you go deeper in connection to the divine? And I would say that is the answer.
Yeah.
You have to apply that unclutching throughout.
And that kind of transitions well into the 5th and final point. And ultimately, yoga is intensity in action, or inaction even. Yeah. You can be sitting in that state, sitting in Sukhasana, Padmasana, Vajrasana, whatever sitting posture you're in. The intensity of the context and the intention that you're holding, that is what matters, whether you're sitting or it's a dynamic asana. And so this also translates to meditation as well. When you're sitting down, when you're holding that state and that space and then tension of connecting to the divine, embodying and embracing yourself as the divine, that is the true purpose of life, is to connect the Atman, the individual soul, with the Brahman, the cosmic consciousness. And so always remember, the context of meditation is for you to radiate the state, space, beings, powers, super consciousness of the divine, what my guru calls as Paramashivatva. And actually, if you're interested in this, what we're doing is we're actually sitting all over the world.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Literally all over the world, close to 10,000 people are sitting together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just to hold this space. So our intention is to sit down and hold that space, connect, unclutch, and embrace yourself as Paramashiva. And it's really a blissful experience. Anytime that you sit down, I got another story that's come out, but anytime you sit down with a group of individuals, it's so much more powerful. Before I say anything, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, that was literally, we were in oneness. I was going to touch on that, but like they even have done studies how group meditation actually changes the very physical reality around it. They've done real modern studies on this where they
I think the first study started in Iran.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Either Iran or Iraq. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact one. But during, there's a lot of things going on in the country, war and a lot of death and just fear, etc. And they had this global initiative to do a meditation, and what they found was the crime rate had dropped at least 30%. And so the exact studies on that we'll have to get, because like, don't hold me like these aren't maybe exact numbers, but or even countries supposedly. But one thing you need to understand is when you're sitting down with a group of people, it is the best. And here's my second story. So my pro career, I'm playing ice hockey. I'm in the closet, right? And I get the courage to go and sit in a group meditation with people.
Oh.
And so I go to this building, and there's me and 20 other women.
Yeah, just women.
Yeah, just women. I'm like the only guy. I think there might have been one other guy. And it was a really interesting experience, though, sitting down in a chair, in a big circle, in a group of chairs with all of these people that you don't know. But you all have that space, and you're holding that same intention. Oh my goodness, every time that I went to one of those meditations, it was so much better than when I was doing it in my closet by myself.
In your dark closet.
Yeah. So I really do highly recommend sitting with a group of individuals. And the thing is, you do not need to be sitting physically with somebody to have that experience. You can sit anywhere in the world. If you all, for instance, the Zoom session that's happening with this, we haven't said the name, but it's called the Akanda Nirvikalpa Samadhi Jnana Yanya. It's a mouthful, but there's a link in the description. You just click. You don't even need to know what that means. But it's holding that space collectively with these thousands of individuals across the world, sitting together in Zoom sessions, depending on what your time zone is, and you can hold that space.
All different times of the day.
It really is. It's so much better than just doing it yourself.
Yeah, so that's our little, call to action. If any of you guys want actual, one, guidance, but two, that group energy, which is so profound and powerful to shift our life, please do join in the meditations that are happening. We'll give you guys the info in the description after we sign off live stream. And Drid is also doing daily guided meditations via your TikTok and your YouTube, or one?
YouTube channel. So if you're
only.
interested in, there's two different things that are an option for you. One is just to sit in that unclutched space, hold and radiate the intention of embracing Paramashiva, the super conscious state, not only for yourself to have a breakthrough, but also for humanity. And then you can also come to my channel, which is the 30-day challenge, where I'm introducing different types of meditations each day. And if you tune in live in the mornings, you can learn and stay back for a Q&A, just a short Q&A if you have any questions on anything that's done.
Wonderful. We have so many resources. This is exciting.
I know. Aren't we the best?
Swamiji's the best. Swamiji's the best.
Yes,
He's making it all happen, right?
Guru, it's the grace of Guru only flowing through to you to give you these opportunities to connect to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So hope this was helpful for you guys, these 5 takeaway tips. To recap real quick, the 5.
Okay.
Number one, set a time, right?
Set a time.
Set a time every single day.
And I didn't mention it, but set a timer even as well. Sit down, 10
Good
minutes.
idea, alarm.
Here's the timer, alarm. When it's off, done. That's simple.
Perfect.
But set a time.
Yep.
Set a space. Make sure it's your sacred space. It's always like that's where you're going to sit down and meditate. Unless you go out into the park and whatnot, that's fine too. Nothing wrong with that.
Explore different types of meditation to find out which one really resonates with you, which one gives you the deepest experience. And this might change throughout your meditation career, because as you grow, you'll start to like want different types of meditation, and that's totally okay too.
Yeah. 4, unclutching. And this is again a resource that you can learn more about. She's going to put a link in the description below afterwards, but unclutching, just relieving that tension physically and then mentally as well, any of the thought activity that happens.
And last one, context. Context is everything.
It does not matter. Anything that you do with a conscious intention technically is meditation. If you're fully aware in the present moment, doing it with an intention, you're practicing mindfulness, you're practicing meditation. So make sure no matter what you do before you sit down, whatever action you're taking, what is the intention behind that happening.
That's a good little nugget to add on before we sign off, is that you literally don't need to be sitting. Like, that's one thing, you don't even have to be sitting. It's a good way to start, but there's walking meditation, very popular form of meditation. There's meditation while you're eating. That's one of my favorite. You've taught that one before in the past as well, of being extremely present and engaged with literally just while you're eating one food, and you're very aware of the senses, bringing that presence into that moment. So any of these things, daily things, can be a meditation. Taking a shower, washing your hands, anything.
There you go.
Anything.
Nicely done.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Dee, for coming on and joining us here at Kundalini Yogini. We are so excited to keep going live with you guys as we keep getting these awesome opportunities handed to us by our guru as well, and sharing those opportunities with you guys, because I think it's important to pass the wealth on, share the wealth, And yes, hope you guys are having a beautiful week and month and quarantine, and staying grounded and present. Now is the most important time to meditate for that reason, right? You don't want to get caught up in the chaos, the fear of the world right now. So keep yourself grounded, meditate.
Yes.
All right.
I got nothing to add. That was well done. Thanks for having me here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're new to her channel, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Don't miss out on future live streams with me specifically. You're going to want to come back for those.
Questions really quick, if there's any. I don't think there's tons, but we'll just scroll real quick. Nithyanandam, Lisa, and Go Cool in Ireland. Do you know if there's a Nithyananda Center in Ireland? I don't know if there's a center, but we do have a friend who's from Ireland, so I will ask her. She's a sannyasi, and let you guys know, hopefully. Can you post a comment on this video after the live? Because then these comments disappear after live stream. So comment, and then I'll give you her information. Then we have Lucas. Lucas is back. Lucas is back. I used to meditate at a Buddhist temple. Oh, very cool.
That's his username?
No, Lucas McCammon.
Okay.
And then just seeing if there's any question here. Sorry. Oh, AJ, you're reading Fingerprints of the Gods. That's really awesome. One of my favorite books.
Did you recommend
ever.
that?
I did.
Yeah, that's.
We would love to meet you too. Hopefully, when all this is over, we can have some meetups as well. It would be awesome. And just checking the questions real quick. Have you ever burned Palo Santo during meditation? AJ's asking. No, I haven't. I don't buy it personally. No, I'm not shaming anyone that does, but it's critically endangered actually. So a lot of Westerners have been kind of like exploiting the Palo Santo because it's blown up in the spiritual community. So I try not to use it. If anything, in extreme moderation. I haven't bought it though in years. That's one of the reasons why I haven't. But there's definitely ways to ethically source it. I'm just saying, I haven't gotten it in a while.
That does bring up one thing as well, though, as far as creating that space for yourself. It's not only just a physical location, but allowing yourself to enjoy the scent of, incense stick, for instance, or a well-lit candle. Creating that environment of Vahavarna is really nice if you have those types of things as well.
But yeah, on that note, I do incense, I do burn incense a lot during meditation, because it helps you bring that presence into where you're at. So definitely do that. And then somebody said, Elisa said, you guys should do a podcast. We have a podcast, Elisa. I'm sorry we haven't shared enough, but we have a podcast. If you go onto my channel page, it's linked there as a recommended channel, The Anandas. That's our joint YouTube channel where we actually do a podcast. And I just kind of we haven't in the last few weeks, but we have a lot of awesome content on there, and we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, but we really should, as far as even tech, make it a podcast.
Yeah.
So we'll get into something like that further down the road. But yes, Yoga from the Source does exist. You can check out the link in the description below after this live stream, because Prasiddha's going to put it there.
Yes, I will. All right, guys, now we're closing. Nithyanandam, everyone. Thank you, and have a beautiful week.
Nithyanandam. Thanks for tuning in.